Hey guys, it's Friday, 11:53 a.m. on April 10th, 2020. And I came across this article about 2 weeks ago, on the 25th of March, where it was talking about how New York City morgues were going to be nearing capacity and full as soon as next week. Now, soon after that, we started hearing that they were using reefer trucks and stacking bodies with forklifts, one on top of another, like as if all sense of human decency had been erased because of the coronavirus, which actually I'm thinking now that it has been, but not for this reason. What I wondered then was, what is the process? When somebody dies in a hospital, or later I started realizing, what happens when somebody dies in their own house? If they don't have their next of kin, what actually happens? So to put a scope around death and understanding what happens on the other side of life, because everybody dies, there has to be a way that the city officials handle dead people. And wouldn't you know it, you guys, there is a very gross but accurate, kind of mundane documentary here called A Certain Kind of Death. And I highly recommend, if you guys can just flick through the gross pictures, because they do show the processing of corpses, which is disgusting. But if you can flick through those, okay, you guys can see what happens. Because if you think about it, old people die in their apartments, old people die in hospitals, young people get shot to death, and they don't know where their families are. Nobody knows what their wills are. These people die, and it takes sometimes months, even years, to locate the next of kin. And guess what, you guys? The city of New York, the city of Los Angeles, all major cities, all places all over the entire civilized world have had processes in place for the last 100 years at least to not only track down the places of the next of kin, but to process the bodies once that fails. And what I want to show you here is a couple of clips here from this particular video. What I want to do is I want to take you to, let's see, we're going to go to 5820 here, where you're going to see, as I just click through here, what they do here is they're cremating a corpse. And they do this every couple of days. And they put the corpses in there, and then the bones turn into ashes, and then the ashes turn into, let's see, where are we? 50. I need to take you to 5820, so I'm just going to scroll through here. And then what they do is they put them in these boxes, then they further pulverize the bones, and then they take these bones, and look at, see these things right here? Look at, these are like the little boxes that they put everybody's dust into. So this is one canister of one deceased person that it was finally cremated. They finally cremate these guys after several weeks or months. I don't know exactly how long it takes. I didn't pay that close of attention. But they give it some time. And then they cremate them. And then look at, they put them in these boxes here. Okay? Now what I want you guys to see is, look how many boxes there are. Thousands and thousands and thousands of unidentified dead people die every single year in the United States in any given city. Thousands and thousands and thousands. And they get them down to this size, guys, while they're trying to track down their next of kin. Now, I want to take you here. Let's go to 1 minute and two. Let's see, 102. Okay, so then they auction all their stuff off, and they try to make some money so that they can pay for the burial and stuff like that. But I got to show you guys this, because this is outrageous. This is the part that really gets me mad about how they lie about everything. So hang in here while I get you to this part. I want you to listen to the guy who's in charge of this, the city administrator. Okay, let's listen. Hopefully, okay. Now look, see, this is the size that they're digging a grave. Listen carefully. Let me get this up, queued up for you guys.
The property's been here since the turn of the century. It was given from the city to the county in the 20s and has been the site of the cremation and interment of people with no next of kin since the late 1800s. After the cremation, we keep the ashes here for at least 2 years.
Look at that. Look at how many boxes they have, guys. They keep the ashes for at least 2 years. You guys, look at the size of those boxes, okay? Let's look at the size of the boxes, and then I want you to look here as I take you to this the side-by-side kind of. Look at the size of these boxes. Okay, so let's do some thinking, guys. You got thousands of bodies in these size boxes versus 6 or 8 or what is this, 10 bodies in this amount of size? No, you guys. No. This can't be real because they need to use the space. They need to be very conservative in the space. So watch this. This is what they do.
Longer. In December, we bury the unclaimed dead and indigents who died in a previous year. The number that we inter ranges from 15 or 1,600 to 2,000 or more.
2,000 or more people that they bury in that particular little hole. You want to see how they do it? It's not pretty, but I'll tell you what, it makes this look like complete and utter nonsense. Watch this.
This year, we're interring those who died in 1997, and there were about 1,600 of them.
Each one of those boxes is filled with a dead person, you guys. Each one of them. And then they take them and they put them on these crates, and then they take the crates out in buses, in pickup trucks, and then watch what they do. They dump them like this. So you get 1,600 dead people in one hole that size. That's the way you do it. You don't do it like this, you guys. Nobody has that much land space. I mean, this guy who's buried in this particular box right here, what, he's worth that much money in New York? Do you know how much real estate costs in New York? So seriously, guys, I'm going to leave the links to this in the description, and you guys can see. And they just go through and they just dump all the ashes here. And somebody says a little prayer, and they throw the boxes back in the back of the pickup truck. Watch this. They throw them in this van here, and then they go and refill them the next year. It is kind of a gross process, but once you understand how this is processed, then you don't fall for this nonsense. Because this is fear porn. I mean, this is fear porn at its greatest. But if you guys actually just use your heads and you think about the fact that if they have really got an overflow of thousands of dead bodies, which is what they're claiming, they do not have the room to put individual bodies here. So what they do is they would take them to the different places, the crematoriums all over the country, and then get their ashes shipped back before they would bury them in this property. Just think, if you can't bury thousands of people. On the entire island, there's not enough room for all that. So just use some thought, guys. And then you have to wonder, why? Why are they telling us these stories when we do have people who should know better? There are lots of coroners, there are lots of people out there that know that this is the actual process. And then just thinking through your fear, if you can get over the fear and the concept of death, which most people can't, then you can start realizing, wait a minute, these are thousands of dead bodies that are going to go in a hole. Let me just go back to that hole there. I think it's at 102. A hole this big. Thousands of dead bodies in one hole this big. Or are you going to bury like 50 in a hole this big? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I'll put the links in the description if you guys want to watch that video. It's just really interesting because if there's going to be a body backup, it's not going to be at the hospitals. It's going to be at the funeral homes, because what happens when these people die, especially at a hospital, is generally they'll know the next of kin. This is not a commonplace thing where they don't know the next of kin. And even if they don't know the next of kin, you guys, they save their ashes for 2 years in an attempt to try to find the next of kin. And that's why this is such an interesting video, because it goes through identifying how they go through and try to find the next of kin, and how much money it takes, and the different people who are involved in the resources and stuff like that, and how they do it. This is taking advantage of people's ignorance. And not only that, not only ignorance on this world, but they're calling it the Potter's Field for unclaimed coronavirus victims. You guys, that's the field that Judas was buried in. So there's something else going on here. This is a spiritual battle, and this is the evidence of it. And I also just want to point out something very, very practical, you guys. When all the other places that you see bury these bodies and put them with these backhoes, why wouldn't they be using a backhoe here? What's going on that they don't use a backhoe to cover up these dead bodies? Let's see here. If you look at the images here, there's no backhoe. So they're just going to use their hands? They're going to shovel by hand? No, this is ridiculous. This is a fake news story. So I just thought I'd share that with you.